Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Ring Talk with Goodwin Boxing with Steve, who's been away for a week.
So have you.
Myself.
I think you've just seen the brilliant stuff he's just been doing. He's enrolled me to be his manager. I'm now to try and get him I'm a celebrity, get me out of here next year. Apparently he's good at chewing animals and things like that.
Yeah, so me and Khan are going to tag team.
Yeah, exactly. Did you see that thing today though with him? There's a picture of him with a snake wrapped around his neck.
Yeah. Doesn't look good, does it? Yeah, no, that was in aid of cancer research. I don't just get up and dance, typically.
Didn't do a bad job though.
It was all right. We came 5th out of 26 people, so
good going.
Can't complain. But yeah, you've been away, you've refreshed, recharged your battery.
Ready to go. Loads of stuff worked on when I come back. So some really good stuff which we'll cover as we go through, so lots to look forward to for, well, not only just for this week, for next year as well, so it's brilliant.
Yeah, so we'll start the weekend. You had Sam Smith fighting up in Manchester.
Yeah.
Female boxer under the Goodwin banner.
First one.
On Kieran Farrell shows it.
So Kieran was appreciate Kieran putting her on, and she went out a ready winner. She hadn't been in the ring for quite a while. She previously boxed under the Maltese licence, so now she was her first fight under, what I call the proper licensing authority. And she's gone and got the win there. She's now ranked 23 in the world. So we're going to sort of step her up. I've got a few phone calls to make over the next week, and hopefully we'll have some news about Sam in the next 7 to 10 days.
So in terms of relating that to other females that people will be familiar with, weight-wise, where does she fit?
She's sort of the same as Chantel Cameron.
So super feather,
lightweight. Natasha Jonas is fighting at super feather. But the girl that she fought had already fought Natasha Jonas. Natasha Jonas had beaten as well. So she's fighting in the lightweight division. So you've also got some other decent
Katie Taylor
who's number one. So you'd have to look, if we're going for we're going for a world title. So if it's going to be lightweight, we're obviously going to avoid Katie Taylor, but we're going to have a good look and get her busy, and then aim for a world title next year.
Excellent. News came out about Miles Shinkwin.
Yeah, great news. When I was in Monaco, I'd done a deal with Eddie Hearn for Miles to fight Jade Ball for the WBA International on the 13th of December. We feel it's a winnable fight.
That's at your call, isn't it?
Your call. We feel it's a winnable fight. It's a fight we've been looking at. I think Jake is a capable fighter, but he has got vulnerabilities. And Miles wants that chance, and we think he can win it. And providing he wins it, we've got some things laid after those fights. So it's not just about the one fight. So if he wins this, it opens up lots of doors.
Yeah. And then the other news is Arfan Iqbal, Simon Valili.
Yeah, the purse bid, we had a meeting with Nissa Sowland, and he agreed very kindly to put a purse bid in, and we knew what was going on, and he won the purse bid. So
this is a scenario, because people may not realise, so where you've got Valili managed by MTK, I think, and then you've got Arfan Iqbal managed by yourselves, and then a third party wins the purse bid.
I went to the third party because we could have won the purse bid ourselves. We were going to bid for it, and we would have staged that fight in London. Yeah. So we'd have definitely put that fight on. But for Arfan, there's more opportunities if Sowlands wanted the fight in a bigger show. Yeah. So obviously they're going to announce where they're going to put it on.
Well, Chris Eubank Jr. already has.
Announced what?
Oh, so he's announced the date.
But that's obviously a possibility for it to be on that card. But the point is now that they will put him on a card in the UK, and it's a brilliant opportunity for Arfan to get television exposure. Whereas if we'd staged it, he wouldn't have got the television exposure. So we want to launch Arfan Iqbal to the world and to people to see what a devastating puncher he is, and we expect him to knock out Simon Valili. Yeah,
because he's the type of fighter that would suit a television audience.
For sure.
Into that fight probably isn't going to go more than 6 rounds. No. If Arfan can connect early on Simon, he'll be in trouble. But Simon's a very good boxer, isn't he? He's ex-England.
Yeah, so Simon Valili is going to be bringing some very good amateur skills.
I think he's only ever lost to Bradis, didn't he?
Yes. But Arfan Iqbal brings unbelievable power. Yeah. So I think it's a great fight for Arfan to show what he has. If obviously Valili's game is going to be to get Arfan into later rounds and try and outbox him, and Arfan will be looking to detonate.
He's a powerhouse, isn't he?
Yes. But what a great fight!
Yeah, he's brilliant.
And for us, my job as his manager is to get, or for my boxers like Miles Shinkwin, we've done it for, is to get them onto the biggest platform that we can. When we worked with the David Haye show and we had 5 fighters on the Sowland show at Wembley, my job is to build my fighters onto bigger platforms. Yeah. And that's what we do.
Yeah. And then your own platform this weekend.
Yeah, great fights. There's a couple of real good fights at the top end, isn't there?
So headlined with...
Livia's promoting Wadi Camacho, Jose Lopez, which I think is a really, really fantastic fight for the Southern Area Cruiserweight. Wadi Camacho's coming off a pretty poor performance against Ozzy Jervier. Jose Lopez was somebody that I thought 3 years ago would be an absolute superstar. He was studying, and so there was obviously some distractions. He just got his degree. But he lost to Ozzy Jervier and got stopped in the 9th round.
A hell of an uppercut that Jervier.
Yeah, he hit him with, and then he had a corner that told him when he got up to go down again. And it was stopped, which was having which I've always said he had a poor corner team, and that he needed to address that. So I think for both fighters, it's a crossroads fight. Jose would need to beat Wadi if he's going to go and fulfil the expectations that were held for him. And for Wadi, if he loses to Jose, it's the end of the road. But if he wants to go on and have another crack at something bigger, he needs to beat Jose. I think it's a brilliant fight. And Jordan Joseph, Darryl Church, I think is equally the same. Both fighters in a crossroads fight. The winner's going to go on and fight for titles.
That's light heavyweight eliminator.
And I think the winner's going to definitely go on and fight for titles at middle part of next year. And the loser would have to question where they go from here and probably have to regroup. It'd be a long regrouping process. So it's a real close fight.
So that's the title that Jordan fought Chris Hobbs for, and I personally thought he underperformed in that.
I totally underperformed. He's a lot better than that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know when we were speaking the other week, talking about Jordan's apparently looking very good in the gym, very motivated, a different type of fighter than what he was. I always think with Jordan, he needs to show more aggression than what he does in the rings. It'll be interesting to see if he does that against Darryl.
Because it will show whether he's learned from that fight against Chris Hobbs. And Darryl Church definitely has a live chance. He knows this is a make or break fight for him. I think it's, again, for the people going to watch the show Saturday, these two fights are worth going in for alone. And there's some other decent fighters on the undercard. Jamani Camiro, Southern Area champion, Jez Smith of Adam Booth's, amongst many others. Daz Azaxo is apparently an really exciting light heavyweight from Hammersmith, so I can't wait to see him box. And there's some other fighters on there as well making debuts, Prince Brady and lots of others who are really talented. It's a great little undercard, and then you've got these two fights at the top that look really
it's worth touching. I mean, with Darryl, his kind of career, you picked him up almost off the scrap heap of boxing, didn't you? And you managed to get him into this position where he can... if he wins, he goes on to challenge for that.
Well, that's what we do. You can't. I say to box, Darryl Church had a very mediocre record when we took him. He wasn't. He said he wasn't overly happy with how things had gone in his pro career, so he came to us, and we deliver what we promised. We say we will get you to a position, and then you have an opportunity, and this opportunity will determine whether he creates a bigger opportunity for himself. So we've delivered that opportunity. Whether he's good enough is not the same for Jordan. He's now got the opportunity to right the wrong against Hobbs. If he doesn't do that, then he's not good enough. But we've still delivered the opportunities for these fighters, and that's what we aim to do.
So that's this Saturday. We'll be touching on December the 2nd next week. But this guy, a great card this week, and boxing starts at 5:45. So get on down there. If you haven't already got your tickets, contact the boxers for the remaining tickets, or one of the online platforms. iBoxing tickets.
They've still got a few left.
All right, excellent. Okay, so I think that covers what we've got coming up. So we'll go on to questions. One from @thefellaboss on Twitter. If Steve was the manager, how would Anthony Yarde's career have been plotted? Would he have followed the WBO or the more traditional route?
It's very difficult because Anthony Yarde signed promotionally to Frank Warren, who, as we know, if you go back historically over many, many, many years, has created many, many world champions through the WBU previously, didn't he? Picked an organisation where he could...
Was that Hatton that he...
we had the run, when Frank had the run of it, and very similar to the WBO. He's got very good connections to the WBO. So the easiest route for Frank, with his fights, is to get them world ranked in the WBO, which he can do without them really beating anybody. And then move them up that route. So that's the route he's chosen to go because he's got those connections. Now, if I was his manager, I wouldn't have those connections. So therefore, unless he was signed to Frank Warren, you'd probably go the traditional route, which I do... I do tend to prefer. I think that going through this WBO route, as Frank Buglioni went when he was with Frank, he ended up fighting Shudanov for a world title when he wasn't even ready. He wasn't anywhere near ready to fight someone like Shudanov. But that's because you're getting a WBO European title by fighting...
it can fast track you, can't it? So,
but without the experience.
Lerone Richards, I think, is fighting for the WBO European against Ondor Ozgul.
But that's a Southern Area fight.
It is a Southern Area fight. and he's going to go on and be in the top 15 in the world. He's not saying anything against Lerone Richards, because he's a very good fighter, but he doesn't deserve a top 15 spot at this stage of his career. He will do, I've no doubt, further down the line. But
neither did Leon Woodstock for being Craig Potts.
Yeah, so it manipulates.
So again, it's not a criticism, because what they're doing, they're very good at what they do. They know what they're doing, and they move fighters that way. But you're doing it really with avoiding the bigger fights. That's why Frank Buglioni was not going to relinquish his British title fight for a WBO European that he had already held. It's just, he's been down that road. He knows what it really means. So he wanted to concentrate on where he was. But good luck to them all. And say Anthony Yard, I think, is an exceptional talent, nice guy. And let's hope he does really well.
Excellent. Robert Martin. Speaking of nice guys, Robert Martin's one of the nicest blokes around. Always supports Brixton boxers.
Oh, does he?
Like spends God knows how much money and time going around supporting. So shout out to Robert Martin.
Full credit to you, Robert.
I should have read the question in advance. Ask him if the highlight of his calendar year will be the live pod on the 18th of December.
Depends on how many drinks I've had beforehand. But I'm actually teetotal at the moment, so
that's true.
That's probably true. So actually, I think I'm looking forward to it. It's a nice.
Our live podcast that we're running down in London at a theatre.
It's great. I know we're going to watch that, and we're really looking forward to it. Go with Josh and Kevin, and we'll have a good night down there.
Steve's going to get up and do a little bit of a Q&A panel as well.
We'll do that. Upset people probably. There we go.
Question from Mikey at Analyse Boxing. What are your thoughts on dangerous mismatches in boxing, and what triggers the board to sanction fights such as Dubois versus Carter? It was sickening, and people need to be held responsible. Also, if your fighter was offered a fight but it was dangerously lopsided, how would you feel? Can you override the decisions for the safety of the fighters? Boxing's a business, but health should be number one priority.
Well, that fight was obviously a mismatch.
Yeah.
As you know, we can say it now, we had a really big bet on a round one knockout. Because it was going to be a round one knockout.
And it came off, It
came off, it was 40 seconds. he's quite a good boxer.
He's a competent boxer, but he was never going to challenge.
No. So you have to ask questions of who. Now, the board, go back to the board. The board sanction people with British licences. So on relatively competitive matches on paper, the board cannot stop those fights. What they can stop, is when you bring a foreign boxer in, because they vet every single fight.
So for AJ Carter, he had a winning record,
and he's got a British license. So
the board can't stop it. Was 3-4 fights into his career.
So the board can't stop that. But who should have stopped it? And I know Brian Lawrence. And I like him. He's a nice man. But if I was his manager, there is no way in a million trillion years I'd have had that fight. And what I would have done, if the boxer had insisted on the fight, I would have resigned as a manager.
So that touches on can you override decisions for the safety of fighters?
Well, you can, but you'd end up resigning, saying I'm not. If you want to do something that I totally disagree with, then you resign, don't you? You just say, well, I'm not going to manage you anymore. The only reason you hang on is if you want the money, but the money's not that important to me.
Yeah.
So therefore, for me, I'm not going to agree. I'm not saying I won't make a mistake sometimes and put a fight in the wrong fight, because everybody's human and we make errors. But something like that, no amount of money would have made me take that fight.
Yeah, fair enough. Kev Morrow. Could it be worth someone doing a UK heavyweight version of the World Boxing Super Series? Domestic scene seems exciting at the minute. So I guess you touch on the likes of Dubois, Joyce, Gorman.
Where do you think the problems are?
Yeah, who's going to do it? Where's the money going to come up from?
Then the promoters aren't going to let everybody fight.
Yeah, and what channel are you going to do it on? Other than that, it'll be fine, Kev. I like the idea of theory.
So it's like one of these great ideas, which it is, but boxing politics stops those ideas from happening. It's a shame. It's a brilliant idea. And I think, to be honest, the TV company might buy into it, but you would never get all these various people putting their golden nugget heavyweights all in together.
But, you say there's no way. Ultimately, someone turned up with 10 million quid and said, of course, now we're doing it.
But it's not worth 10 million
no one's going to pay 10 million quid to do so. In the same way, the World Boxing Super Series
is paying enough money to get them to do it, but there wouldn't be enough money in doing a British one. So there just wouldn't be enough money in, I would assume, Frank Warren risking Daniel Dubois against some of the other ones that could go in there, and all of them in together. I think it's and there's another one. I've heard about another one from Croatia called Flipovic or something. 2-0 kid from Croatia who's a destruction machine, fought Joyce in the amateurs. He is apparently one to watch for in heavyweights, world heavyweights, let alone British. But there's a lot of stuff in the heavyweight division at the moment that I think is very, very, very exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. Oscar Smith, with his links back to Luton, friend of Linus, I believe. What are your thoughts on Kay Prosper's next opponent, and then surely a step up to Southern Area belt if he wins on December the 2nd?
Okay, first thing, he wanted to fight somebody that posed a threat.
Speaking of wrecking balls.
Yeah, so he's fighting somebody who's had four wins, four one-round KOs, has lost one fight when he fought with the flu, and he did lose. He lost on points.
Where's he from? He's overseas, isn't he?
Yeah, he's from Slovakia.
Right.
And he hits really hard, and he had quite a lot of kickboxing fights before, and he was knocking all them out as well. So I think Kay's gone into he said, well, if I'm going to make it, I'm 33 years old, I want to take real fights. This fight's going to be well worth watching because somebody is going down and out. That is not going the distance.
Yeah.
It's 8 rounds, but there's no chance it's going 8 rounds. So that's a brilliant fight. Once we get that fight out of the way, the Southern Area at the moment is held by Sheer Osgood, who's got a medical issue, so that's frozen up. So we'll probably look to move on to get him in eliminator towards the English title. We'll probably have to bypass that because we can't sit there waiting for unless Sheer Osgood doesn't fight again or whatever. But I'm not sure what his position is. But he was due to find Kane Stewart. That's all been frozen up. So I think Southern Area is dead. So we've got to move on to something, either an international title or down the English route.
All right, question from Rob Brennan. What's the latest with John O'Donnell? Doesn't Bradley Skeet have to defend his British title next month or vacate?
Yeah, I mean, John O'Donnell obviously injured, and the fight's been moved with Tamaki Mucha to February, and the winner of O'Donnell Mucha becomes mandatory for the British.
Yeah. As for Bradley Skeet,
it's not my. It's not my business at the moment. It becomes my business if John O'Donnell becomes mandatory.
Yeah. Question from Danny Robel or Robelo, I'm not sure. Danny Robelo 84 on Twitter. Probably similar to what we just discussed a minute ago. Thoughts on a major tournament for Box Nation, Matchroom, Goodwin, Billy Nelson, Hatton fighters from all backgrounds. I know it sounds more WWE than boxing, but by heck, some exciting fights in there.
Same again.
Yeah, you get the funding.
Somebody comes along and drops enough money, people will do it, but people aren't going to do it for average money and put their prospects at risk, especially if Box Nation are going to stage it. You know how hard it is to win as an away fighter against some of the bigger promoter shows. You know that. So who's going to put their guys in unless it's for big money? Because
as Glenn Foote can testify.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, exactly. You don't get the rub of the green, do you? So.
No. Andrew Fairley, brilliant man, Andrew Fairley.
Yeah,
lovely guy. He writes for Boxing News. Did the Portsmouth Memorial for boxers. If you're ever down that way on the south coast, make sure you head to Portsmouth. Go find the Boxing Memorial. So Andrew Fairley asks. Can I ask if Danny Cousins will be offered the winner of Waddy and Jose? Danny on a good run of form, and it would be a dream come true for him to win the Southern Area title this time.
Well, it's nothing about him being offered. He's now he beats Dimitri, so he's now the mandatory contender. If Waddy Camacho beats Jose Lopez, his next fight must be against his mandatory.
Yeah, unless he moves up.
Unless he wants to vacate.
Yeah.
Right. So, but he has to defend against Danny Cousins or vacate. If Jose Lopez beats Waddy Camacho, then he has a choice because he's entitled to a voluntary before his mandatory. Doesn't mean he won't fight the mandatory, but it would depend on how the arrangements would be financially between the two. So that's where the situation is. One thing's for sure: Danny Cousins, providing he doesn't do anything wrong, will his next fight, wherever that may be, could well be for the Southern Area. He'll fight for the Southern Area by June next year and possibly early part of next year.
I think anyone holding that belt isn't going to be fancying Danny Cousins at the moment. It was a good performance against Spiros Dimitri.
Exactly.
He's on a good run of form, so I'm sure.
If Jose Lopez wins, he's entitled to a voluntary. He's going to look at it and say, where's the best financial benefit for me? Who's the best opponent for me to face? Etc., etc., etc. So that's what is. If Waddy Camacho wins, he doesn't have a choice.
Yeah. Okay. A question from Russ, Big Vern 46 on Twitter, and a similar one from Paul Altai as well. So I'll amalgamate the two. I'll use Vern's question in that. Does Steve think the bubble has burst with StubHub due to the pullouts of headline acts? So we're talking about the Pulev and then subsequently David Haye, Tony Bellew, as announced this week, cancelled. As out of the first 11 StubHub shows, no pullouts, and then the last two shows, AJ Pulev Haye versus Bellew, are both pullouts. Do you agree with no refunds given by Matchroom Fight Pass and StubHub and Matchroom regulars?
Okay, so let's do the first point.
Has the bubble burst?
The bubble doesn't burst until people stop paying and buying them. The simple thing is, don't buy the bloody tickets. Then the tickets will worm their way back onto the normal market at normal prices.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens.
So you're talking about the secondary ticket market where 40 quid ticket goes for 80 quid.
Right, if you don't buy them, they will end up back on the market at 40 quid. However that happens. So if people would stop paying these inflated prices to the greedy people that keep doing it, and there are various greedy people that keep doing it, then it will come down. So the bubble bursts by people stop paying. So you hope that with all this happening, people will not buy again.
And also, don't bother buying off the secondary market 10 minutes after they've said it's sold out. Because as you'll see from the AJ versus what turned out to be TACAM, those secondary markets suddenly dropped their price to below face value because
it wasn't really sold out.
Yeah.
So people are going to have to learn what's going on here. But whilst you've got people that are just naive and keep buying into this stuff and keep overpaying for prices, if you believe that 20,000 tickets get sold in a day and go to all normal buyers, right, then I'm Alice in Wonderland. It's nonsense. It's not really. That's not really what's going on. So in reality, don't pay over the odds for these tickets. Just wait. If you don't buy them, you'll get them at normal prices. And I think people are going to learn from this, because I'm coming to this refund policy. I think people will learn from what's going on here that really you shouldn't do it. You've got no protection buying these. They're not regulated by any government body. They should be. So just stop buying them.
Yep. Going on to the question about, do you agree with no refunds given by Matchroom? So I don't think that's by Matchroom, is it necessarily? So if you bought a face value ticket on StubHub, I believe the situation is that StubHub is saying it's not a cancelled show, it's a rescheduled show, therefore your ticket is still valid for the rescheduled date. Whether you can make that or not, whenever they announce it, whether it happens or not, we don't know at the moment. But your ticket, you can't get a refund because
they are Matchroom tickets, right? They've been given to StubHub for the first.
Yeah, the route is Matchroom ultimately.
Yeah, so Matchroom are encouraging, in effect, by that policy, tickets being sold on the secondary market, right? Because what they're saying is, if you can't go again, sell them for more money than you pay.
Well, that's what they said, is that just put them back on the market.
So what we're saying is here that the promoter is then encouraging, by policy of StubHub, tickets being sold on the secondary market.
Yeah.
Now, I like Eddie Hearn, I like the Matchroom people, they're great, but this isn't right. This is wrong for boxing and wrong for people. It's wrong for the customer to get ripped off like this. So when TACAM replaced for Joshua, I felt Matchroom didn't have to give refunds. I think here everybody should be entitled to a refund.
Yeah.
But the golden rule is don't buy off StubHub.
Yeah.
Don't buy them. Stop it.
Agree entirely. The final question here from James Lupton at round 8. As someone who has worked closely with Haye and his team, does Steve think Haye should call it a day and focus on the promotional side? I think only David Haye really can answer that, can't he?
I'm not privy to David Haye's training camp. I'm not Salas. I don't know exactly what injury, how, why, what other injuries he's had, how training has gone. So I think it's very different. I think it's easy for the outsider to come to that conclusion, and I'm sure. But because I've worked with David Haye, that doesn't make me privy to make a comment on something like that.
I think if you look at the track record, is it 4 of his last 10 fights he's pulled out injured from in advance? So 2 with Fury, 1 with Bellew, and I can't remember if it was the other Bellew fight, which he took but got injured. The track record kind of tells you, the ones where he stayed fit with the likes of the Cobra and Mark Demori.
They didn't count.
They're not real fights, were they, in reality? So
I think only he knows that, and only the people around him know that. Because I've worked with him, it doesn't make me an expert on David Haye as a boxer.
Yeah. He was looking in great shape, though, wasn't he?
He was good. He looked slimmer and leaner.
Yeah. Lost a lot of the bulk that he had.
I just think it's a shame But the problem you've got here is that fight fans who've gone to watch this, some have paid inflated prices on our secondary market. They booked hotels, they booked travel, they booked time off work or whatever on the Monday. They're not getting this money back because the show's not going ahead.
No.
So the problem that you have is who's going to want to pay and buy tickets next time?
Yeah.
In advance.
Yeah. And use booking.com when you're booking hotels. Most of them have free cancellations as well.
But people have got to learn to do...
I've got about 6 booked from Manchester and London to cover the Eubank roads. I just need to remember to cancel them all.
Yeah, you must. No, but exactly, that's it. So if you've done that, you need to be careful when you're booking boxing that you do. But then the other problem is, if these tickets come up for sale for any of these, why are you buying on the secondary market where you can't do anything?
Yeah, you've got no recourse for... Yeah.
Just buy them from and maybe and I think definitely the promoter should have a relook at their policy.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't give them to StubHub at face value. So that's okay. We're sending, and then when the event's cancelled, StubHub won't give a refund. But Matchroom, if you bought from them directly, would give a refund. So you've got two different policies for the same person's tickets.
Yeah.
Just bang out of order.
I think it's disgusting personally, but then I'm not involved in the sport.
If I was promoting at that level, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
No way would we do that.
Yeah.
No way.
There you go, we've run through all the questions. So we'll be back next week where we'll be talking about the action from Saturday, the forthcoming one on the 2nd of December. And
hopefully some more news and more developments on more bigger fights for some of our fighters.
Yeah, so you've got a few names that will be milling about, so you're probably only in Chizoras and...
a few others that we're working on as well, so hopefully there's a lot to come. We might be able to give some more information next week.
Excellent. Alright, so I'm going to go off and not practice my dancing anymore because that's done, I'm retired. You're back in the full flow of work,
and you're back on your podcast.
I'm back on my podcast as of Sunday.
You've got to watch the New Age Boxing podcast. They are one to listen to.
Right, we shall see you next week. Take care and goodbye.
Cheers.